Hey, Dog's Eye here back again. I finally got around to getting my array wired here before it got cold. So I'm going to show that here how I did that. And things are moving along here. I'm trying to get the inverters all finished up in my battery bank. So if you like what you see here, hit the like and subscribe button. And thanks for watching. So I'm out my Beaver box here. This one is UL listed. And it's actually way bigger than I needed. I had a plan. I was going to maybe do something else on being able to switch PV wire. So I wanted a bigger box. But it's laying around, so I guess I'm going to use it. I changed my plan, so that's the way it goes. Basically an expansion joint here, and I just use a piece of uni strut, and I make my U-bolts out of ready rod to mount here to my post. I do have it all trenched down here to the shop, and then I trenched in 240 feet from the shop down to the house, and I'll go through that later. But and now I'm getting ready to put the masthead on and get my panel mounted inside here, and I'll be back. So this thing looks familiar. It's the hat that I used from a brake rotor to make the covers for the top of my poles on the mount. This is just a 5/16 rod. I just stick it down a little bit past the bottom there. And then basically I'm just bending it around there. And then I've got one that's a 7.5 inch diameter of pipe, and then I just clamp it on there and fine tune it. Works pretty good. These are 5/16. They hold the PVC conduit. The ones on the box are 3/8, but same thing applies. And you can just make your own custom U-bolts that way. I got my hole punched here for my masthead. Basically I just get it lined up here. I use my bracket to line it up, and then marked around the outside of the pipe, and then mark the center. I drill it out with a step drill, and then I use a cheap hole punch, conduit hole punch off of Amazon to do it. Now what we're going to run in there is a Myers hub, and we're putting a nipple here on it. So I got my PVC nipple here, and this is what's called a Myers hub on the bottom. Okay, now I put pipe dope on here, a layer of Teflon tape, and then a little bit more pipe dope, and then tighten it all in there using a big pump pliers, and I'll run it all the way down so it's tight. The idea is I don't want any water getting in here. Okay, so you see this groove here on the bottom side, that's where this O-ring goes in there. And then the nut, of course, goes in the bottom, and that'll provide you with a nice watertight seal so you don't get any water inside your box down through around your masthead. Also going to use a Myers hub, but with a chase nipple to mount my IMO switches, and I'll show that later. So I got my pipe all ran here, and got my masthead on there. I just used a short piece of uni strut, and of course one of them U-bolts, and a conduit clamp there to do the top. And I got this one here, but I haven't tightened it up. And the reason it's extra long is I'm putting my IMOs on here. I'm going to make a bracket so that it'll hold the top of the IMO. So I got my IMOs ready here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about these here. Basically we're using a Myers hub here and a chase nipple inside here. Now I'm going to give you a word of advice. Some of these chase nipples you'll see are die cast. Like I bought some at Menards, and they're die cast. Well, first thing with them is they got a flat spot on the side, and water could actually get in there. I can't remember where I got these, but these are steel, and they're perfectly round. And the problem with using the die cast ones is when you go running the Myers hub, it like to gall the threads. So anyway, these steel ones, what I do is I put that in the vise, and then I'll take a pump pliers and run that down. But I put a little PTFE sealant on there first, give it a little lube as I'm screwing it down, and that way I get them screwed down so they fit in there. You get them screwed all the way down, so that way they clamp down on the plastic here. With the die cast ones, don't quite work so well. So you know, that's a word of advice. If you're looking for any of them chase nipples, find the steel ones, not the die cast. The Myers hub can be die cast, that don't bother anything. All right. The distance in between centers here is 2 inches, so remember that figure. We'll do our layout here and drill some holes and get these started mounted. So just a little clarification here. Now I said I run these down the vise. They're not in the plastic. I don't have the IMO switch on here, okay? The reason I run in there is I want to get them threads all ran down and make sure I can get it all down there tight. And that way when I go to put it in the box, what happens is then I can screw that in there. It's a lot easier to screw it in there. You try and hold that nut, you know, while you're trying to screw that Myers hub on, there ain't enough room in there unless you got a really thin socket. Now I did use a 3/4 inch Myers hub here, and I did use it on the other array, and I have some 1/2 inch Myers hubs, but the issue is when you look at these IMOs, like where the holes are going to be, they got those ridges in there, and I didn't care for that. You know, if you wouldn't only punch it out to 1/2 inch, well, you know, then you end up with that ridge and it could potentially break. So I just use a 3/4 inch one. I drilled a hole out in there just using the step drill. You know, you get it kind of centered, and then you got to do a little cleanup with a utility knife, but that works really well. But yeah, you run these down in a vise without the plastic box, okay? So you get it flattened out, and that way when you go to screw it together, it's a lot easier to hold this chase nipple inside from turning as you're running this down. All right, later. So I got this all mounted then again finally, and what I used was an L bracket here, a little short piece of uni scrap laying around, and I just bolted a piece from one side to the other and just bolted it through there. What I have is a self-tapping screw comes in from the top here and the back side, and it screwed into that uni strut, and that keeps your IMO fast and good on the top. It can't be broken off or anything like that. Hey, I was looking at how I had done these IMOs on the other array, and on that one I didn't run the chase nipple all the way through. What I did is I put a nut on the chase nipple, ran the chase nipple down to the Myers hub as far as it go, and then just finished tightening up the nut, and that way you get a nice seal there. You know, it's nice and tight to the bottom of the IMO. Okay, inside the box here, basically your PV wire comes down. We've got our number 6 ground wire, of course, that goes to all our panels, and then I just have a bare wire, number 6, that goes in between each rail. And Iron Ridge says that their rails bite in, so no problem. Okay, PV comes in. I split it off for my surge protectors, and I always use a breaker. A lot of people tell you you don't need it, but I use it. My opinion always is any wire that carries current should have a fuse or a breaker on it. Okay, comes out the bottom here, goes up to my IMO, comes back down on the IMO, and then down to my conduit. This is my extra conduit. If I ever want to add another array back here or something, I can just run it on up into here, add all my stuff I want in here, run all my wires down through the same conduit. I just go ahead and screw a grounding bus bar here, okay, and then I can run all my grounds are nice and neat, tie everything all up nice. Everything's mounted here on the DIN rail, and I just pinch the end here, bend a little bit so that way it can't slide around. Not much to it. If I can do it, you can do it. So anyway, until next time, catch some rays, and we'll see you later.